Hey, welcome to the process. My name is Dr. John Bush. This is lesson 69. Can you imagine? NFC positional usage ratios, RB versus WRs, TE versus WRs. Okay, we're trying to figure out what team did what over their 5 year average and then in 2020 and see what the difference was, if any, and use that information as a foundation for our 2021 drafts. Please go to lesson 68 and review that because I'm going to move quick on some material that I kept between the two lessons in case somebody wanted NFC first versus the AFC. Anyway, this is all designed to help you win your fantasy football drafts. So what we have here is the conference team 5 year RB versus WR ratio, and 2020 that's RB versus WR ratio and the difference. So we're looking for teams that change patterns, use their running backs more or less as compared to the wide receivers. And I actually went over this figure last time, and long story short, the teams up here are using their running backs more than the wide receivers. They had a nice positive increase in purple here. And these teams declined in using running backs versus wide receivers in 2020. Take a look at the numbers here. So you're wanting to, if everything's equal, hang around and grab these running backs and maybe these not as much. Note that Ezekiel's here in Dallas, and I think the injury to Dak really messed up the whole schematics of the Dallas team. We'll see, but so I'm not sure I'm buying that matrix, but there's some trouble in some of these other guys, other teams as well. And I have a graph looking at that. And again, I highlighted teams that use the RBs more and the teams that use them less. And there's more of those teams, and they are the more using more teams. So let me pop a cool one here. And so I'm interested in the gaps here. 2020 versus their 5 years higher. And then here, look at 5 year is much higher than 2020. So flip flop, Indiana is polar opposite is Buffalo. Okay, complete extremes of the league in 2020 here. So consider, should you draft Taylor or Zach Moss or Singletary? Well, part of it is there's probably a committee, and Buffalo is passing. Indianapolis definitely used their rushing much better. So, I mean, some things are clear and you don't need much, and there's some, injury issues. Look at Carolina, Dallas down here had injury issues, so I'm not sure I'm buying those. But KC, Philadelphia, the Jets, Pittsburgh, all are going to have to show some strength in using their running backs more in 2021. Just, gives you some pause and being thoughtful about that. Here is, and of course I forgot to label, this is 5 year tight end to a wide receiver, and this is 2020 tight end to wide receiver. These teams used their tight ends more. Notice Cleveland, I thought that was kind of a surprise. These used their tight ends less. I mean, we have something like Baltimore uses Andrews, but they declined -8% in 2020. So will it get back a little bit? So gives you some pause, also gives you some potential sleeper types or value types, such as Hooper at Cleveland. Actually, they moved up from zero point 0.4 to almost 0.5 or 0.47. So that, you can get him late. So that may be a play as a streamer or late tight end option, that kind of thing. So go through this list, and I think I diagrammed these numbers here, the trends from 5-year versus 2020, and the difference in purple. And I sorted from high to low. So these teams use the tight ends more. These teams use the tight ends less in 2020 versus their 5-year average, which I didn't include 2020 as well. So that did do that. A little bit more evenly split here, still a little skewed to the ones who use the tight ends less, but there's some interesting teams here on this side of the ledger and some on this side. So be cautious, be thoughtful, gives you something to think about and use as a foundation for your decision making and your research here. I believe you can pick that up. Here is now the NFC conference and teams, and how this is the green is RB to WR, the red was 2020 RB to WR, and the green was 5-year. And the difference, and if it's above or below, that means a decline or increase. In this case, it was a decline. And tight ends versus wide receivers, we saw a decline as well. But having Dak out, I'm not sure we're going to get this kind of 2021. You would think more rushing and potentially even more tight end work there. So people like Jarwin, Schultz may be big surprises there. The Giants wanted to run more, had some injury. Okay. Just a little bit biased to the RBs. You would think that would go up. It's a little bit positive. And Ingram was used more than the wide receivers. Notice the purple here, and was higher than the 5-year average. So that's some interest. Don't forget about Ingram. Philly really declined in rushing and really declined in their tight end uses in 2020. They've got a new new quarterback, so hopefully they're wanting to change things, but 2020 was a decline in both categories. Washington was all about the rushing, and people are picking Gibson, and part of the reason is this kind of activity in 2020, very high, and Logan was used less, but still you figure he's going to get his due as well. So Logan is a good late tight end one, but we had a nice increase and a slight decline. So people are drafting Washington RBs. I am as well. If I can't get Gibson, I'm doing McKissick all day in best ball and whatnot. So that's the East, NFC East. NFC North, Chicago, Detroit, Green Bay, and Minnesota. Chicago declined, so a lot of times, even though I listed these first, I look, okay, it declined, increased. So rushing declined, and tight end uses increased in 2020. And you figure that Cole Kmet will take advantage of this and get more play. Montgomery was used less than in the 5-year average, so you figure he's going to be a little bit more limited than you might think. And he's going deeper in the ADPs. Detroit moved some pieces around, but they increased in rushing and Hawkinson tight end usage. That's why Hawkinson is maybe a 4th pick behind Kittle because of this stat right here. People, they follow this, the pundits and whatnot. So I believe Swift and Hawkinson will have the game advantage. At least that's the idea for 2021. Green Bay definitely use rushing and tight ends more. Positive, but if Rodgers doesn't play, then all bets are off, and not sure what we get there. Minnesota was Dalvin Cook. You see there was an increase in 2020. And the tight ends didn't drop too bad. So there may be Irv Smith maybe, still have some viability there. It's nothing like the Detroit or Green Bay with Tanyan here really went up as well. So we hope Rodgers comes back. That will help Tanyan's value. Certainly Adams and certainly Aaron Jones there as well. And that's the NFC North. The South, Atlanta, Carolina, New Orleans, Tampa Bay won the Super Bowl. Atlanta gave up Julio. They were using their wide receivers more than the tight end, but they got Pitts. So does that go up? I mean, people are drafting him like it's going to, and they have Hayden Hurst there. So there is some concern about a committee split, certainly early. So if you redraft, if you've got Pitts, he may take a little bit to jumpstart there. Rushing declined, and Atlanta went out and got Mike Davis to try to undecline that. So you would think that, the way Atlanta behaved with getting Pitts and rushing Mike Davis, that they're trying to make these two numbers actually increase. But this is what happened in 2020. Can Atlanta make that change? Carolina was deep down in both. They changed up the team leader as well as far as QB, but McCaffrey wasn't there, and a deep decline, and almost not even using the tight end. So I'm kind of staying away from any tight end from Carolina. And you would think that McCaffrey would cause that number to go up. New Orleans rushing Kamara and Murray. Nice tandem there. And Cook increased as well. So we got increase, but now we got Winston. And they got rid of Cook. So I got a question mark for the tight end. I am not picking up Troutman, but people might, and I can see, but they're judging based on Breeze and Cook. Both are gone. So that is some controversy there. Tampa Bay surely used their rushing versus the passing, trying to stay balanced. And they use their tight ends a little bit better than the 5 years. So Gronk, Howard, that kind of thing, you figure they're going to be used as well. In rushing, sounds like they're going to try to be balanced with some checkdowns and rushing just enough to let Brady hit Evans or Godwin. So I guess the balance to try to open up the passing. You think that Tampa Bay should pretty much run this league again, won this conference again. Hard to see it's not happening. Last is NFC West here, Arizona, the Rams, Seattle, and San Francisco. Arizona declined in rushing because they were passing with Kyler Murray and didn't really do a lot in tight end, kind of low-level tight end, and nothing really jumped up there. So I think you expect whatever you get to be like that for the tight end. I'm avoiding Arizona tight ends. And the rushing game does give me pause there with Chase Edmonds. You think maybe he's there to open up the passing or the running lanes for Murray. That would be the thought. Rams declined in rushing, but increased in their tight end usage with Higbee. You think he has a role to play, so he might surprise and be a nice late round tight end one. Definitely have concerns about the running game. People think Akers is going to do it. I just don't know, given the tendency of the team. Just, I'm cautious on Akers. Seattle, Carson, probably get about what we got, but there was a decline and tight ends declined. I will pass in Seattle tight ends as well. Passing in all the tight ends except for San Francisco. We did lots of rushing. Look how high that rushing is. Just towers above this conference. They're going to rush, and probably try to get Kittle involved more as checkdowns. So that leaves little for the wide receivers. Beware of getting too deep in the wide receivers, especially we have no clue. Jimmy G, or was it Lance, whatever his name is, the rookie quarterback, have no clue what's going to happen. A lot of unknowns for me in the deep passing there. So I think that's my 10-cent tour of NFC. But I will say I have a bonus here, and these are a couple of slides I threw in to the mix. I kind of rated teams by their types. And so you have the team, the quarterback, the running back, tight end, and wide receiver. And I push high or low or neutral, and that's clear. So nothing. So Buffalo is high quarterback, high wide receiver, low in the other two. Houston, high and high, low to average in the other two. Jets, tight end, and Philly, tight end all day long. Okay. New England, New Orleans, love their running backs. Love their running backs. Baltimore, love their quarterbacks. Arizona and Seattle, kind of average on rushing, tight ends. Baltimore has wide receiver issues, low. So these figures may even be better for just some snapshots and tendencies here. Might be of some help you out there a little bit. Cleveland and Frisco look a lot alike. Rushing and tight ends, high. Passing wide receivers, low. So Cleveland has that as well. Indy, Washington, running all day, tight ends average. Pittsburgh, lots of wide receivers all day. Denver loves its tight end, Fant. Rams, kind of average. Carolina, average. Didn't use their tight ends a lot. Wide receivers. You think that McCaffrey, that should be high, but anyway, that's what we got. Atlanta had problems, and Elliott, so I hope that changes. And we were passing all day, all night. Rams, Miami, Tennessee used their tight ends, but Tennessee lost Smith to New England. Low for wide receivers. Beware. Green Bay and the Chargers were average and low on the wide receivers there. Chicago, Detroit, average across the board. Nothing spectacular. Minnesota, Kansas City, Tampa Bay. The Giants were kind of one-hit wonders there. Minnesota rushing, KC tight end, Giants tight end. Some liabilities at running back at KC and Tampa Bay. Be aware, Minnesota could do more with its wide receivers. People were thinking Thielen and Jefferson are it. I'm just saying, look at the overall usage there. It may not be as much as you think. Be cautious on picking those guys up. Okay, now that's the end of the lesson 69. This is the process, Dr. Bush. I hope these little nuggets here, these little figures you can get and take and help you with your drafting here. That's the whole point. I think we're moving on to other topics coming up. I know you're tired of positional usages here, but it is that important, folks. At least if you're following my process. Take care. Let's have lots of fun. Come back. Lesson 70 coming up.